In 2005, a man walked into Goldman Sachs and asked for something that had never been done before. He wanted to buy insurance, not on his house, not on his car, not on his life, but on the entire American housing market. He wanted to bet that one of the most powerful, most trusted, most celebrated financial systems in human history was about to completely fall apart. Goldman Sachs looked at him. They thought he was insane, but they took his money anyway, because they were absolutely certain he was going to lose. His name was Michael Burry. The instrument he used was called a credit default swap, and what happened next changed finance forever. Today, we are going to break down exactly what a credit default swap is in plain English, and how one man used it to turn the world's biggest financial disaster into a $700 million victory. To understand what Burry did, you first need to understand the world he was living in. It's the mid-2000s in America. The housing market is booming. Home prices are rising every single year. Everyone, your neighbor, your coworker, your cousin is buying a house. Banks are practically handing out home loans to anyone who walks through the door. And I mean anyone. People with almost no income. People with no job history, people with terrible credit scores. Banks were giving them mortgages, called subprime mortgages, with low initial interest rates that would quietly reset to much higher rates 2 or 3 years later. The borrowers didn't fully understand this. The banks didn't care, because the banks had found a way to get these risky loans off their books immediately. Here's how it worked. A bank gives out 1,000 risky mortgages. Then it bundles all of them together into one giant financial product called the collateralized debt obligation, or CDO. Then it sells that CDO to investors around the world as a safe, high-returning investment. Rating agencies stamp it AAA, the safest possible rating. Investors buy it eagerly. Everyone believed this. Every bank, every economist, every rating agency on Wall Street. Everyone except Michael Burry. While Wall Street was celebrating, Michael Burry was reading. He was reading mortgage prospectuses, the actual legal documents that describe the loans inside these CDO products. Thousands and thousands of pages of them, the kind of documents that nobody else bothered with because they were dense, dry, and deeply unglamorous. But Burry read them like a doctor reads a medical chart. He was looking for the truth beneath the surface, and what he found horrified him. These loans were structured to fail. The borrowers had barely qualified. The interest rates were going to reset sharply upward within 2 to 3 years. When that happened, millions of people would be unable to make their monthly payments. They would default. And when they defaulted en masse, the entire house of cards, the CDOs, the mortgage bonds, the whole system would collapse. He ran the numbers obsessively. He modeled the default rates. He stress-tested the assumptions. Every way he looked at it, the conclusion was the same. This market was going to crash, hard and soon. Now he needed a way to profit from it. But here was the problem. There was no standard financial instrument that let you bet against the housing market. It simply didn't exist. So Burry decided to invent it for him. Or rather, he decided to ask Wall Street to invent it for him. This is the part most people find confusing, so let's slow down and make it crystal clear. A credit default swap, or CDS, is essentially an insurance contract, but it has one very unusual feature. You don't have to own the thing you're insuring. In Burry's case, the house was mortgage bonds, those bundles of risky home loans. Here is exactly how his trade worked, step by step. Step 1. Burry goes to the big banks, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, and asks them to create credit default swaps on specific mortgage bond packages. These CDS contracts say if these mortgage bonds fail, meaning homeowners stop paying their loans, the bank has to pay Burry a massive amount of money. Step 2. In exchange, Burry pays the bank a regular premium every month, kind of like an insurance premium, as long as he holds the contract. This cost him millions of dollars per year while he waited. Step 3. If the housing market stays healthy, if homeowners keep paying their mortgages, Burry loses all those premium payments. The banks keep the money and walk away happy. Step 4. But if the housing market collapses, if millions of homeowners default, the banks owe Burry an enormous payout, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, here's the part of the story that most people skip, and it's the most important part. After Burry placed his bets, nothing happened. Not right away. The housing market kept rising through 2005. Through 2006, month after month, Burry was paying millions in premiums on his CDS contracts, and on paper, his fund was losing money. His investors were furious. They demanded their money back. They sent angry letters. They threatened legal action. They questioned his sanity, his judgment, everything. His own investors, people who had trusted him, were calling him delusional. Think about the psychological pressure of that moment. You are absolutely certain you are right. You have read thousands of pages of data. You have done the math over and over, but the market keeps moving against you. Your clients hate you. The entire financial establishment is laughing at you. What do? Burry did something almost no one would have the strength to do. He locked his investors' money into the fund, legally preventing them from withdrawing, and held the position. In 2007, the cracks started to show. Homeowners across America began missing payments, exactly as Burry had predicted. The adjustable rate mortgages had reset. Families who could barely afford their original payment now face bills they had absolutely no way to pay. Default rates began climbing, then surging. By 2008, it was a full catastrophe. The housing market collapsed. Lehman Brothers, one of the most storied investment banks in history, filed for bankruptcy in September 2008. It was the largest bankruptcy filing in American history. Governments around the world had to step in with trillion-dollar bailouts to prevent the entire global financial system from dissolving. Millions of ordinary people lost their homes, their savings, their retirement funds. And Michael Burry's credit default swaps, the insurance contracts that every bank had sold him while laughing, paid out exactly as they were designed to. His fund made $700 million for his investors. He personally made $100 million. The same banks that had sold him the contracts and called him a lunatic for buying them were now being bailed out by the American taxpayer. So, what does this story actually teach us? On the surface, it is a story about a clever financial instrument, a credit default swap. But underneath, it's about something much more fundamental. It is about the courage to trust your own analysis when everyone around you trusts the consensus. It is about understanding that markets are run by human beings, and human beings are driven by greed, by optimism, by the desperate need to believe that things will always go up. A credit default swap is just a tool. What made Burry's trade legendary was not the instrument. It was the 2 years of reading, calculating, and holding alone while the whole world told him he was wrong. He understood something that most people never learn. The crowd is not always right. Data does not have feelings. And if you can read the fine print that nobody else will bother with, you might just find something that changes everything.